So hello Pat and hello Dudley, how are you both?
Hello.
Hello, Matthew. Very well.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
how
we
have
are
you
very well.
been how have you been doing since we last saw the 3D version of you?
Well, we've just been carrying on with a sort of routine. Every day seems to be the same, really. You know, so we just carrying on.
I
Good.
mean, it's
Well,
improved recently when we've been able to see the children more, and they've been able to come over here and come in the house and things like that. But
of course, yeah, we
yeah,
know that for ourselves, and yeah, that's made a real change.
well,
But anyway, we're really glad you've been able to join us today. And as you know, we're marking 10 years since we first met in our current church building. And I was just wondering whether there are any parallels between being suddenly unable to worship together in our own building after the fire way back in 2000, and suddenly being unable to worship together during the pandemic, as happened back in March. And indeed, whether there are any parallels as we start to be able to go back to being together. And so as people who were part of DGBC at the time of the fire, I just wondered if you might have some insights for us. I wonder, how did you feel, either you personally or the church, when the church burnt down? That must have been a real shock.
yeah, I mean, it was devastating. It came at a bad time personally for us, at a time of loss for
Of
us
course.
as well. And it just seemed to compound the loss. You know, the church was gone. What else could happen? But yeah, I mean, it was a devastating loss. Yes.
And so how then did you get through the following months and years as they unfolded?
I think, like everything, the first thing is sort of crisis management. And the first thing was, can we get somewhere to meet? And the school was very good. We moved straight in, so the community got together straight away, and that was a good sign. The second thing, the immediacy of the building, how much was damaged, and because not all the church was burned down, only a part, there was a lot that we could use, but of course it had to be cleaned up. That was an advantage and a disadvantage. Advantage because we had the building, and once it was clean, we could go in and use it and so on. Disadvantage, if it had all burned down, we'd have had more insurance money and could have built straight away, rather than just a partial sum.
Yeah.
So we're floundering for how we could then go for rebuild. Everybody came together, and we had a load of sort of raising money for various things, and we had a hog roast to tell the community we were still there, and there were loads of things that we did as a community to raise money.
Yeah.
So how did you feel when the new building was opened 10 years ago this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, that was fantastic. And our lives have changed so much because we had grandchildren then, and Bethan was one of the ones who cut the ribbon, for the opening service. So yeah, that was really good. But it was wonderful looking at the new building, and seeing how far we'd come and how we'd managed to stay together.
But reflecting back, what would you say was the thing that you missed most after the building burnt down?
I think it was a place to call home. The school was very good, and we met in the hall, and we got into a routine, and Sunday school met in the classrooms. But everybody was sort of busy moving things, like the musicians, moving things up in the morning, taking them all back after church, so that you were almost like a nomad. The building was down the road and partly usable, but there wasn't a sense that you had a home. We were almost like 40 years in the desert, walking, waiting, and that was, I think, the biggest thing that we missed is, although the people were at home, there was not a community to come together in. So it was no place like home, I think, is a good response.
And yes, and 10 years is a significant length of time to be in that situation. And so what was the thing that you appreciated most when you were finally able to open the new building?
It was the new building itself, you know, again, as Dudley said, a place that was your home.
And there was a real sense of celebration, wasn't there?
Oh,
when,
yes. Yeah.
When we were able to formally open the building. And
Yeah.
And that service, that first service, was really, really lovely because the church was packed out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had that celebration and the hog roast that went with it, and everybody was playing in the playground. But the church itself was airy, light. It was a lovely day, and it was packed out, and there was such a sense of joy in that whole celebration that day. And it wasn't just the building; it was people coming back together, and you had arrived. So it was like a complete and utter new start.
It was,
out from the ashes, boom, there we were.
Yeah. And you had the real feeling, you know, that God was good. God had brought us through all of this, and here we were bigger and better. You know.
Yeah. Well, we're in another new start now, so thank you for sharing your insights with us. But it does seem to me that there are at least some parallels between how we've been feeling over the last 6 months and what the church experienced 10 and 20 years ago. Things to do with loss and crisis management and maintaining a sense of community. Those are parallels that are worth bearing in mind and learning from. So we're going to take some time now to remember that our experiences of being restored are signs of hope, that God is our rescuer, as we sing our next song.